Hey guys, good morning. Thanks for coming to my stream. My name's Tom Boykin, and my channel mostly focuses on audio post-production tutorials, heavily in Pro Tools really, but I'll be branching out into DaVinci Resolve and maybe Final Cut. So today we're talking about dialogue noise reduction, and here's kind of our class schedule, if you will, of what we're going to talk about. First though, shout out to channel members. So thank you guys so much for being a member of my channel. We've got our Discord. I try to check that most weekdays, and it's been really interesting. Like, it's kind of taken off and become just like a community sounding board, you know, question board, kind of like the Avid Duck forum or Gearspace forum, you know, where it's just a lot of technical discussions and people talking about audio post-production. So thank you to channel members for your support. Really appreciate it. And anybody who's tuning in, what we're going to be talking about is reducing the noise in a voice recording. And my background is in film and TV, so I tend to focus more on you know, that side of things, but these same techniques are going to apply to anything that might have noise in it. It could be a podcast or a YouTube video, a radio program. I already said podcast, but I'm trying to think of others, maybe not TikToks, but you know, anything where there's somebody talking and there's noise. So we're going to talk about what noise reduction is, when to use it, why you might want to use it, how to use it, and real-time versus offline. There's been, just in the past, you know, 3 years or so, there's been a bunch of nice, what I would consider offline processes, which you wouldn't want to necessarily run in your session as a plugin, as a live insert. We're going to talk about the importance of a good dialogue edit in noise reduction. Different plugs for different bugs. In other words, you will choose a different noise reduction tool based on what kind of noise and how they handle it. How much noise to remove, which I feel like is the #1 issue with, and really the #1 question, well, besides dialogue levels, is how much noise do I take out? And the biggest mistake I see beginner to intermediate audio post people make is they take out too much noise. They get caught up in, you know, the John Henry, I got a hammer and everything looks like a nail, so let me just kill all the noise. So yeah, we're going to spend some time on that. We'll go through some examples. I don't want to get too much into like shilling plugins or telling you guys what to use, because everybody's different, their budgets, their preferences, you know, so I don't want to like sell you guys on specific tools, but I'll show you some of the ones that I like and when I use them. Cheap and free options. One channel member in the Discord asked for a tutorial on multi-band compression. You can actually make your own free noise reducer with any multi-band compressor, and then some dark horse options, which would be ones where you might upload the file and process it in a browser-based AI tool. Usually they're AI-based, and then download it and bring it back into your workstation. And then I'll say goodbye. So that's our outline for the class. I am off work for the next 2-3 weeks, so I'm going to have a lot of time. I might spend a little more time on this stream than the normal 1 hour, and I'm also going to be uploading some regular videos for you guys. So as always, in the comments, drop ideas. If you're a member, go on our Discord and tell me what kind of content you want to see, because I'm making this for you guys. Okay, so what is noise reduction? Noise reduction is the reduction of ambient noise in a recording. And so in our short here that I use for most of my videos, because it's mine and I own it and I can do whatever I want with it, you'll see here, if I blow this track up, we've got our signal and then we've got our noise. So this is what we're going to be talking about reducing. Really, the struggle with noise reduction is, how do you reduce the noise without affecting the signal negatively? And that's kind of been like the history of noise reduction, is knowing that threshold of what's too much and what's not enough. So that is what it is. When you would use it is if the noise of the recording, and this is, like I've said, something a lot of people I feel like get wrong, but when the noise of the recording takes away from the performance or the location or people's experience of the media, you know, whether it's a podcast or a TV show or a film, then you'll want to think about reducing the noise. Also, sometimes noise can step on other things like music or sound effects or backgrounds. So the noise reduction needs to be done not in a vacuum of just the dialogue, but all the other tracks in your mix. If you have a recording that's just dialogue, for example, you know, like a podcast where it's just people talking, you generally go less heavy on the noise reduction because it's just part of the environment that it was recorded in. But sometimes that environment isn't good or you want it to sound very clean, so you're faced with the challenge of reducing the noise. So that's when you would use it and why you would use it too. Like, you'd use it because the noise is obtrusive. But I like to tell people to embrace noise whenever possible because it's the natural sound of the recording. And just the nature of noise reduction, anytime you reduce it, it's going to also either subtly or not so subtly negatively impact the voice of the person speaking. So just be careful with it. We have all these tools. It doesn't mean we need to use them all the time and maxed out on settings. So how you would use noise reduction, some of the plugins, like, so if you're editing in DaVinci Resolve or Premiere or basically a picture editing, even Adobe Audition, I would say, you're probably going to reach for processed audio. In other words, not running as a live insert, a plugin, but actually affecting the clip. So in Pro Tools, we would do this with Audio Suite and then go and pick one of our noise reduction tools and process it. This will save your computer's processor from having to, every time you hit play, process the audio. It processes the file and makes a new file, and then it's an offline, we call it an offline process because it's not live while you're playing it back. So that is kind of how you know, a lot of people will do that instead of having inserts. The benefit of having an insert is you can tweak it in real time with the other elements. And if the director says, you know, maybe a little more noise reduction or a little less, or you feel a little more, a little less, it's easy to just grab some sliders, move them up or down, and then that's it. You know, it's not like you have to go reprocess a bunch of audio files. And what you really don't want to get in the habit of doing with noise reduction is just highlighting a whole scene and processing, because that is just, it's a little too heavy-handed, and it doesn't treat each clip as a kind of its individual thing. So we kind of have slid into two, real-time versus offline. So I say when you're mixing, try to do as much live processing as you and your computer can handle, because it's going to give you the most flexibility of adjustment versus offline processing where you're, you know, doing all the files and you're turning the noise way down, and then you add other sounds in and you realize you didn't need to go so heavy with the processing. You have to go back and redo it. So yeah, that's kind of the real time is a plugin, you know, that's running on a track or a bus. You can use it on a bus. And offline is where you're processing the files and making new files. Okay, so after number 3, I'll go through comments because we got a bunch in the chat. And just so you guys know, it was my birthday yesterday. I thought about streaming on my birthday, but I kind of took it easy. I actually dipped my toes into some Atmos mixing, set up Atmos in my studio, so I'll be going over that in the next couple weeks, kind of with you guys because it's new to me. But yeah, yesterday was my birthday. I am super old now. I can finally grunt when I get up off the floor and complain about taxes and all that good stuff. So, number 3, importance of a good dialogue edit. Really, you know, kind of the key for all this is having a solid dialogue edit. If the dialogue editor, or you, if you're editing it yourself, has gone through and just done super short crossfades, like I'll show you kind of a not so great dialogue edit here, which would be like this, you know, and not filled things out and just done kind of a, you know, quick wham bam thank you ma'am job, you're going to have to reach for the noise reduction just to make everything smooth. And as a mixer, you want to have all of the choices available when you're mixing. So if the dialogue has been cut super tight and there's no smooth transitions between shots, so like here's a wide shot, here's a close-up, here's a medium close-up, here's a raking 2 shot, you know, if those transitions haven't been smoothed out, you're going to be forced into a corner and have to noise reduce the entire scene or the noisier angles, and your hands are tied when you're mixing. So a really smooth dialogue edit with no audible tone bumps is crucial when it comes to mixing, and especially noise reduction, because like this scene, for example, look at my noise reduction. It's bypassed. I have 0 noise reduction, and it's not super quiet. I'll let you guys hear this. I'm not going to put the headphones on, but I'll let you guys hear just the dialogue here.
And that's only because that's out of the goodness of your old...
You know, there is noise going on. Traffic and boats and all kinds of stuff, and I haven't done anything to those tracks. I've just left them because the dialogue edit was smooth, so I didn't have to do noise reduction. So, you know, having a good dialogue edit, which I've got a bunch of videos on editing dialogue. If you have any specific requests for like details of dialogue editing, I will gladly cover them. It's what I do. Like in the past 2 or 3 years, I've specialized in dialogue editing for bigger projects. So I can talk for days on it. So yeah, a dialogue edit, a good dialogue edit with smooth, let me put smooth dialogue edit is crucial to making noise reduction decisions. Okay, so we have different types of noise that we deal with when we are mixing. And that's another thing is, I should put this, don't noise reduce during DX edit. And I'm going to put 3 exclamation points. Do not do noise reduction during your dialogue edit. You're going to be making the decisions in a vacuum, and you're going to be doing it wrong. I don't care how much experience you have as a dialogue editor. Don't do noise reduction during the dialogue edit. Save it for the mix, because you don't have the backgrounds, you don't have the music. You're probably not listening, you know, on a dub stage or calibrated monitors quite yet. So do not do noise reduction during a dialogue edit. If the mixer asks you to do some, always have a copy of your unprocessed tracks so that they can go back. But I just say as a rule, don't do noise reduction during the dialogue edit. It's going to make you lazy when you're editing too, because you're going to be like, oh, I'll just reduce the noise 12 dB. And then, yeah, you don't have to do any fill for that because you've taken all the noise out. But what happens when the director says, I don't like that, put the noise back, then now you have a terrible dialogue edit to deal with. So don't do noise reduction during the dialogue edit. Just, I can't say that enough. So you've got the dialogue edited, you're starting to mix, and you're faced with different types of noise that you need to... Oh, I said we were going to take questions, so let me stop there and highlight it. Okay, so comments, let's see who we got. We got Javier, we got Hill Post, we got Kevin Broman, we got House of Jen, we got Brandon Wells, Justin Carter, Alexander Edits, good to see you, Alex, Nilesh Sound or Nilesh Sound, and let's see, any questions? It doesn't look like it. Just a bunch of highs, couple happy birthdays. Thank you guys for the happy birthday. Birthdays aren't a big deal to me, but I know some people, you know, they'll like take the whole day off and everything. Okay, Great Fella says, maybe it's too early in the stream, but what do you think of technique of getting rid of all voice reverb and noise and then recording your own reverbs over the completely flat dialogue? I think that's awful and terrible, and it sounds bad, and it's something the AI robots can easily do, so I'm completely against it. I like, man, what's that movie where the guy rides the bomb down and he's, yeah, something how I learned to stop worrying and love the bomb, whatever. That is what you should do with the noise. Ride that thing down to the ground. Don't try to just obliterate all the noise, but just ride it. Include it in your edit and embrace it. This is the sound of the location. This is a real sound that isn't from a library, and just keep it as part of the richness of the dialogue. So yeah, Dr. Strangelove, thank you. Yeah, so just embrace the noise. Don't get rid of it. It doesn't have to be nuked from outer space. And like I said, that's something that AI can easily do. Delete all noise. Boop, hit a button and it's gone. What it's not going to be able to do for a while anyways is get a nice smooth dialogue edit with real organic set noise, and you know, decide each frame what sound to include in the edit. That is, like, to me, the most exciting thing, and a lot of people don't like it, but going through the dialogue frame by frame and deciding even clicks. Is this a good click? Is this a bad click? Maybe I don't take the click out. Maybe I reduce it by 3 dB or 6 dB. This bump, is it a good bump? Is it a bad bump? Maybe I move this bump a couple frames left. Like, that's the level of detail that when you get to that, then you start to understand why dialogue editing is an art and not just a technical exercise. Okay, so Great Fella says, I'm asking because I'm currently in film school. Well, that's a red flag. And we're taught to use clear to make it super clean and I think you mean unnatural, menstrual. Ooh, that's kind of weird. And record reverb with altiverb, for example. Yes, so I could do a whole video or stream on film school and the people who teach film school who tend to be failed filmmakers or failed, you know, professionals. They say those that can't do teach, and I found that to generally be true. There's obviously some there's examples where that's not true and somebody has done a career and then they go into teaching, and I've even considered that, but there's also the people who got a 4-year degree, then got their master's, and then just stayed in the education system and never went out, spread their wings, and actually tried to make a living. So kind of, yeah, I think people teaching audio and film school have had to retrain enough film school graduates and even audio school graduates who spent 4 years and $150,000 and didn't learn anything to just say, get out and work instead of going to film school. Okay, so yes, Sam Castleton says 100% as a mixer, I hate people that are so anti-noise. Noise adds life. It does, it adds texture. And the other thing with noise reduction is you're not just taking out the noise, you're taking out really minute details like cloth movement and, you know, actors doing actor things. You're reducing breaths. You're just chipping away at the clarity of the dialogue because it does take out a little bit. Even the very best ones, which we'll go through examples, take out some of the detail of the dialogue. So anytime you touch the dialogue, you're probably degrading it a little bit. Yeah, so Martin S. is first time online. Welcome to the stream. Thanks for joining us. So good questions. Brandon Wells says, would you clean up crackles and pops in the audio? Not in the vacuum. Not in the vacuum as well. Oh, okay, so yeah, so as a dialogue editor, I'm 100% responsible for cleaning up crackles, pops, bumps, rustle, you know, to a certain extent. So I consider those to be transient noises because it's just a little spike in the audio that happens. And I can show you kind of, I mean, this isn't a great example. Let me just send this guy here. Try to keep everything where you guys can see it. Okay, so make this a little brighter. You know, this kind of stuff. I don't have headphones on yet, but you guys can probably hear this.
Good.
You know, if it's tied to some movement on screen, if it's like a gravel footstep or a visual, you know, lip smack where they're like before they talk, then I'll decide if I want to keep it or not, and I might take it out with declick or spectral repair or decrackle. But I take it frame by frame, and I hate it when people just go like that, declick, you know, or mouth declick, which I don't even use, or decrackle. There's been a couple shows I've worked on where we've just been told to batch decrackle stuff, and I just detest it. It makes me feel like a robot. So I take those frame by frame, and I would recommend that you do too. Ask yourself, is this good? Is it bad? Does it help? Does it hurt? You know, always go back to how does this support the story? And if the actor is thinking and they're like, well, you know, that you might want to keep because that's part of their performance. But if it's like incidental, like they're thirsty because they haven't been to Crafty in 25 minutes, or they're really emotional and the clicks are so loud because they're whispering down here and it's all clicks, then yeah, you need to maybe help dig stuff out and get it a little more clear. So yeah. And in tonal noise, I've kind of gone back and forth. Most of the mixers I work with, well, I shouldn't say most, it's kind of 50-50. Some of them like the tone, you know, the generator hums and the single, like the solid tones taken out, and even Dopplers. And then others say, you know, I'll notch that out with an EQ. So just ask the mixer. The older I get, the less processing I do. So I tend to say don't take any really horizontal noises out, broadband or tonal, because then also it makes the dialogue edit, you know, too fast and too easy because you've taken out so much that you don't have to blend stuff as much. So I say just keep everything, keep all the horizontal noises in your dialogue edit, and just deal with vertical noises, ticks, pops, bumps, crackles, that kind of stuff. Bernardo says, we can't hear, sorry. Let me know what you can or can't hear, because I'm trying to, anytime there's a technical issue, I try to get ahead of it. I've had to like re-jigger stuff a couple times, so let me know if there's any like technical issues with the stream, and I will do my best to fix them. Luckily, I got a studio full of mics, so I can plug, yeah, I'd have to plug it into that guy. Okay. Okay. More questions. Curious about noise removal on boom versus lav. I have a scene I'm working on where one actor's boom mic is great, but their lav is unusable, while the other actor's lav is clean and their boom is not good. Orlando, I would say for that situation, pick the best mic. If the boom is, well, if there's a mic that's unusable, just trash it. Try to keep it consistent through the scene. So like if you have, you know, a lav, I've got boom on DX3 and lav on DX4. Just try to keep it consistent, you know, to where this is on this track, and if the boom is not good, you can also cut it and then mute it. That's a nice thing to do. That way, if the mixer has some magic sauce they can put on it, you've included it and kind of let them know like, hey, you know, boom, NG for no good. But you can let them decide when they're mixing. So yeah, consistency is very good. Oh, the RX Connect playback was very low. That's because I used individual files clip by clip, and this file is, yeah, I recorded these 32-bit floating points, so they're super dynamic, so I can slap a compressor on it or something. Thank you for letting me know. I also had some video dropouts. I think it's because I had my Elgato HDX60 plugged into a, not a dock. What do they call that? Where it's got all the ports? I don't know. Bus? No, maybe it is a dock. Yeah, it's the thing with a bunch of USB ports, and now that's going right to the back of the Mac Studio. So Okay. Okay, I'll fix that. Ooh, there's a bunch of good questions. Now that BCS of OTT introduction, I don't know what that means. Is everything happening in the machine way in India? Dialogator doesn't get time to wait for the mix to happen and then decide. Yeah, that happens in the US too, where there's not a good budget or there's not enough time and the dialogator ends up doing a lot of work. And actually I've worked on Indian films where the dialogator is tasked with more than just that. Like they might be doing some EQ as well. So this is going to vary based on your culture and where you're at and the industry, even like the location if you're in the US of where you're at. So just know that I'm approaching this from what I know, which is I'm in the US and I work, I do both independent and union stuff, so I kind of know both worlds, but I really want my content to be focused on quality instead of speed, because I think speed is something that a machine's going to beat you, and quality is not yet anyways. Okay, Shamik says, does one record production audio keeping in mind how much we can control the audio in post, or is production audio completely independent and mixers shouldn't think of post-all? That is an excellent question, and I think the best films turn out great because every person is just focused on their job and they do it to the best of their ability. And so the best production sound I've gotten to work with, the mixer has, excellent mic selection for different voices and different situations with wardrobe and distance on the booms and all that kind of stuff. They have great boom ops. The production, is open to hearing their complaints about noise and quick to fix them. And then, the camera kind of like angles and stuff are complementary to getting the booms in close. You don't have like a 16 millimeter and a 135 millimeter in the same setup. So really a production sound mixer shouldn't worry about what we can do in post. They need to focus on getting the best quality tracks with the situation they're in. Sometimes you can't make something quieter or you can't mic somebody because they're naked, So just focus on each moment as it comes up, getting the very best audio, get safeties, get wild lines, ask for another take, there's been kind of a move towards getting on-set ADR on some of the projects I've worked on, which is great. People will go through the dailies. Sometimes there's an editor working with dailies on set, doing like a rough cut of a scene. Oh, this line wasn't recorded clearly. The next day, before lunch or whatever, the actor goes off and does a little on-set ADR. So all that, just focus on your job. Don't worry about other people's jobs. And that goes with dialogue editing and mixing too. If you are dialogue editing for somebody, don't worry about mixing. Don't do noise reduction. Don't EQ stuff. Just focus on getting the dialogue edit as good as it can be. And then when you're mixing, trust the dialogue editor and their choices. If you're working with people that you like and that you've worked with before, they probably cut things a certain way, and instead of getting pissed off and chewing them out, just be like, well, why did they choose this? And then work with the tracks the best you can. Okay, so good, really good discussion here. I notice on TV movies like Hallmark, they leave in 40 hertz and room tone, and it's like an earthquake. Yeah, and that happens really because of bass management. The backgrounds, well, Hallmark movies, all those short timeline, get it out as content mill things where it's just like 5-day mix and then stuff gets printed and then it goes on TV. You have somebody doing editing backgrounds and you have somebody editing dialogue, and what will happen often is you're playing back in a 5-1 room with full range 5 and then a 0.1 LFE. Well, if you don't listen to the bass managed version of that, where the low frequencies from the 5 channels get shunted to the LFE, you're going to not hear the rumbles and the tones in your room tones because they haven't been, put to the sub, where it's really going to accentuate that. So I like to do a high pass on my backgrounds. I like to do a high pass on my dialogue. It might be like 60 hertz or 80 hertz, but I try to band limit stuff, knowing that if it plays back on a bass managed system, the LFE is going to accentuate that, especially because the LFE channel isn't generally set up right. So yeah, having sub bass in your backgrounds is usually not great. It's good that you noticed that. Okay, Marco, an appropriate amount of noise can add warmth and character. Yes, thank you, exactly. What to do about room tone with outdoor recordings? Director says the dialogue is still slamming in and out, but this is because there's wind, garbage trucks, and no ambiences were recorded. Matthew, that means you need to go back to your dialogue edit and make it smooth. And tell the director, hey, you guys recorded this on a street, and it's trash day, and it's windy, and there's dogs barking, and there's, you know, a low battery alarm on a smoke detector on the Call of Duty chat over here. So you're gonna have to live with all this noise if you don't, you know, want it reduced. But you have to get your dialogue smooth with nice long fades in and out. If you have a siren going by, just drag the clip all the way out, remove the dialogue, keep the noise, and let it bleed over to the next couple shots so that it just sounds smooth. It's free backgrounds. It's free real estate. Just embrace it. What do you think about Aura and Pro Tools? Don't use it, don't like it, don't trust it. Seen a lot of problems with it, so I'm not even touching it. Had one project with really bad bleed, band in a different studio on the same hertz, same frequency band as the actor's lows. We couldn't get pickups at the actor's, though any trips to remove it without killing his lows. Yeah, I'll go through that. Dehum, adaptive mode, usually works really well for that, and then you can draw it out manually too. Is clip gaining part of dialogue editing? Definitely. I try to get my dialogue to be average minus 27 for an act or a sequence or a scene. Obviously, if they're whispering or yelling, it's going to be lower or higher, respectively, but clip gaining is definitely part of the job. Okay, so long kind of sidestep into questions, which are great. Keep them coming. Okay, different plugs for different bugs. So this is where we'll start to talk about, I'm gonna have to actually put headphones on. These are Allo Audios. They've been pretty good. I haven't had to use them too much. I do like to one ear it, so I can hear, I don't know, if anybody's trying to break into my studio. Well, let's go. We just want to listen to dialogue.
Hey, man, you have it?
With some ADR in there.
Yeah. Look, if you don't want...
I think there was a car in one of these.
The deal. And that's only because...
Maybe not.
Left the business. Good deal. You be sure to tell Sarah.
Maybe it was this one. Okay, yeah, this is a good one. So in this shot, we've got two vehicles that go by. Yeah, okay, yeah, right there, there's a boom truck, and I would guess that's a HVAC van. It's like a Ford E350. So there's some stuff going on here, and I'll just send this so we can look at it. Okay, so this is a great example because just in one clip we've got tonal noise and we've got broadband noise. So the tonal noise, this is a Doppler tonal noise where it's actually the clutch fan of the engine ramping with the engine's down here, and then this is the clutch fan. This is the part of your engine that spins the fan. It engages by a thermocoupler that pulls air through the radiator to cool your coolant and goes through the water pump and your cooling jackets on your engine. So there's a couple things we can do for this. We can look at dehum. Sometimes dehum works, sometimes it doesn't. Usually for Doppler stuff, it's not that great. And I like to kind of mess with the settings a little bit. So adaptive, dynamic, let's see what it grabs. So it grabbed a little bit, but you can see like it left this here. So the other great tool for this is, and I don't want you guys to just spend a bunch of money on stuff, so please take all of these suggestions or examples with a large grain of kosher salt. But for Doppler stuff, Absentia DX is really tough to beat. The hum remover on it is good, but I find that the hum remover in RX Advanced is superior and leaves less of the low end of the actor's voice messed with. With Absentia DX, even with smooth or smooth under dialogue, it will eat into that fundamental frequency, you know, 180, 125. So, but for Doppler stuff, I like to just put it on soft or careful and we'll render it. Even with my new shiny Mac Studio, it does take a little bit. I mostly use Absentia DX for air tone generation, which is right here. But just so we can kind of A/B it, here's the reduced. And here's the original. So you can hear that rising Doppler tone is gone, I would say. Let's just take it into isotope. I'm going to reference this because we're just going to look at it. Because visual is sometimes easier. So here's the original, and then here's the Absentia. And you can see it took away all that Doppler goodness. I left it in because I like it. Yes, it's technically noise, but there's a truck going by, so it's a good kind of noise. So yeah, so if you wanted to roll with this, then okay, so this Absentia DX plugin has done, which I closed, has done an excellent job of reducing, actually removing the tonal aspect of the noise. And so that one works for tonal. The one I for solid tones where it doesn't Doppler, just use dehum in isotope, run it in adaptive dynamic mode. Static mode, for whatever reason, doesn't work very good even after learn. But adaptive and dynamic, I've had excellent results with, and it doesn't really affect the actor's voice too much. Maybe I can kind of create an example for you guys by doing a signal generator. We'll do this we'll do a sine wave at -40, and we'll put this down to like 73 hertz. Oh, that's right, I need to do continuous file. So I'm creating this noise so that we can listen to it. We'll have to clear isotope out and then do let's do continuous file, entire selection, and then I need to mix these. I think, is that how you do it? No, that's not how you do it. Mix to mono. Nope. Oh, that's right, I gotta stack them. My bad. Hold on, there we go. Right? Isn't that how you do it? No, maybe not. Sorry, it's been a while since I've done this. We'll just do it this way. Copy, and we'll go here and we'll do paste mix, which is Shift V. Okay, Shift V. Great.
Deal is a deal, you hear me? Deal is a deal, you hear me?
Looks like you guys are getting good signal on the stream, so you can hear that, right?
Deal is a deal, you hear me?
So all I have to do, I use shortcuts in isotope to make things easier. So I'm gonna hit my plus button to dehum it. And it's reduced. The settings I'm using in dehum are to reduce, they're not to completely remove it. So let's see if we can completely remove it.
Deal is a deal, you hear me?
One thing you can do, which I prefer to do, is do multiple passes. So just hit it a couple times.
Deal is a deal, you hear me? Deal is a deal, you hear me? Deal is a deal, you hear me?
So it's gone, and his voice is fine. But, you know, it probably needs to be like 120 hertz. So let me let me undo and unmix and then send it. I'll just get rid of those. Don't need to save them. And I'll do 120 hertz. We're going to get this like right around his voice. So connect, copy. Now that I know my shortcut, Shift V to paste. Okay, so this is great. Let me zoom this in. You can actually see that this tone goes, it slices right through like an anime sword, right through his voice. So this will be a great test for dehum to see, does it work without hurting his voice?
Deal is a deal. You hear me?
Pretty good. But just for, you know, squirts and giggles, let's compare that to, oh, you know what I need to do? Let me paste mix. Let me send this back and then render. Good, okay. And then I should be able to go here, dehum, send that back, and render. I want to compare absentia to this. Might as well, just to see if I'm bullshitting you guys or if it's true. So hum, remover, smooth. Let's do smooth under dialogue just because. And that was actually pretty fast. It doesn't look like it took much out. But let's see.
Deal is a deal.
Yeah, nope, didn't take it out.
Deal.
Okay, I'll cut this little glitch off of that one. And then we'll try smooth. Nope, didn't grab it. I can still see the sine wave in there. Let's try strong. Didn't do it. Let's try tight. Nope, it's not really doing anything, is it? Not sure I like that. Maybe if we copy and paste, you can see like this is maybe not what you want to do, is fight with the plugin. Yeah, it's not even grabbing it, so I would say no. I probably wouldn't use Absentia DX for this because it's not really doing anything. So winner is Isotope Dehum. So that's that plugin. Broadband noise would be, if we're using this truck by here, you know, take your pick, whatever you got. Acon, Cedar, RX10 spectral denoise, dialogue denoise, like whatever you have to use, then you'd hit it for broadband. I like Cedar, so I just do it, you know, with automation most of the time. I'll go to preview and unguide tabs. Ooh, that's hot. And then you can click learn in Cedar, but just do it manually. You know, I'm just looking to reduce it. I'm not looking to take it out. Right to selection, take it out of preview mode. Now we can A/B it. Okay, so here's the original. And then here's the reduced. So pretty big difference. So you can see I use two different tools to take out the tonal and the broadband, and that's generally what you have to do. You kind of have to pick your horses that you're going to buy and then learn how to use them. And it's usually not one ring to rule them all. Haha, get it? Ring. It's usually, you know, use something for tonal, use something for broadband, use something for reverb reduction, and yeah, that's number 4. So how much to remove is super subjective. Kind of touched on that at the beginning. I prefer to remove as little noise as possible, and even really verging on no noise reduction. Just use EQ, maybe some compression, or other dynamics, you know, de-essing, limiting, and that's it. Because really, with, I wouldn't say well recorded, but properly recorded production sound, you don't need to do any noise reduction. Just embrace the noise and just leave it in there. So This is kind of an anti-noise reduction video, I'm realizing. Okay, this is a question. SA2 is a good choice. I've got that on my bus, bypassed. I guess that's what I do. Normally is I bypass stuff, and then if I need it, I'll automate it on, or I'll leave it on for the show. But I try to start with like basically raw tracks and then work my way up. It's great for getting rid of that little just edge to the harshness or bite of the dialogue if it has too much of that. What I'll normally do is pre-dub the dialogue and then listen back to it and be like, it's good, but it just needs a little smoothness. So I'll enable that, and it's great for that. It just kind of smooths stuff, the like upper mids, really transparently. It's like a final type of deal. Yeah, and it's not a noise reduction plugin, but I figured I'd answer the question. He typed it, I'll answer it. Okay, so there's so many different types of plugins for noise reduction. I'm not going to cover like Goyo Clear, Clarity, DX Revive, Acon, Cedar, Hush. You know, like I'll cover some of the out there options for people, but I don't have time. This is not a plugin comparison video. I really don't care about. They all kind of do similar things. It's like, do you want French vanilla, or do you want regular vanilla, or Madagascar vanilla? And it's just all different, but it's all kind of the same. So yeah. So this is a good thing from Andrea. For a long time, I always made sure to consolidate clip gain before audio suiting, as some audio suite plugins react to input level. Update fixed this, I think, but what's your thoughts to this kind of stuff? Some plugins do prefer hotter input levels. I generally don't consolidate my clip gain. Some really excellent dialogue editors, like way better than me, do. Before they even send the clips to Isotope, they consolidate the gain. And I understand that, but I don't like to do that because I want my dialogue edit to be as few generations removed from the original production recordings as possible. For things like I need to find an alt, or I need to adjust a handle, or I need to look for more room tone, or whatever. Like I like to just have the tracks be as close to the original as possible so that I can go back. So I don't consolidate clip gain, but I understand why to do it, and I understand the history behind, you know, plugins need to see a certain gain level. But that's also another reason why using live processing, you know, as an insert is nice, because you can clip gain, hit the plugin hotter, and not worry about processing the audio. So really good, Andrea Gianelli, good, good comment. Okay. Okay, how much to remove? Like I said, as little as possible. And you want to do this as late as possible. I say get your EQ, your compression, your de-essing, your reverbs, maybe not reverbs, but do all the shaping of the dialogue, and wait for the noise reduction until the last possible second. You know, wait till you get the music, wait till you get the backgrounds, Foley, sound effects, because you'll find that you don't have to do as much noise reduction when you add that stuff in. We kind of did a couple examples. I'll show you kind of some tricks for offline versus online noise reduction. So we kind of did this one. I showed you, you know, Cedar. Use your automation, you know, use preview mode. I got a shiny new S1 that I haven't spent very much time with, but the cool thing about a Yukon Surface is just the speed with which you can open up a plugin and, you know, start touching faders with the faders flipped down so that you can set thresholds on noise reduction. But yeah, if you don't want to buy Cedar, there's other insert noise reductions you can use. I don't have waves anymore, but WNS is one. The other one that is pretty good is the RX. Oh, dialogue isolates an insert. Now that's kind of cool. is the voice denoise. So you can use this. This comes with RX Advanced. It might come with the not advanced version of RX, but yeah, you can use it in adaptive mode, or you can do learn and then just highlight a section of noise. I'll kind of show you what that does. Let me actually move it to this track. I think I can do this blind without listening to it. So I've turned off, I've not suspended, but I've disabled volume automation because I've already got volume automation on this track and I don't want to mess with it. So let me put this up here, solo, and then we'll just get this. We'll solo that and play it. So the default setting that where it's reducing 12 dB is too much. I actually do need to listen to this. It's been a while since I've heard a good isotope RX voice denoise, so let me see what kind of badness this does.
Man, deal is a deal. You hear me? Now get on.
So 6, 6 I can kind of hear the gating, but it's not so processed. 12 was just, woo.
Man, deal is a deal. You hear me? Now get on.
So it's cleaner. The signal is cleaner, but the voice is less clear. It's lowered in volume, so I'm gonna have to do some makeup gain. And it kind of gets this rubbery edge to it where the edges aren't defined, like you're kind of looking at it like this, squinting. Some people call it the uncanny valley, but that is something you'll hear on numerous short films. Like usually people's first 3 or 4 projects where their buddy hires them to do audio post, they just go ham on noise reduction. And with the inclusion of Adobe Enhance in Premiere and DaVinci Resolve's AI voice cleaner upper, I've been hearing this on corporate spots, web commercials, and just the over-processed, like, oh, there's noise, let's take all the noise out. And just don't do that. Just do enough, So like on this 6 dB is probably...
Man, deal is a deal. You hear me? Now get on.
So I bypassed it, now I'm gonna re-enable it.
Man, deal is a deal. You hear me?
That's fine. It takes out a little bit, right to selection, we're done. I don't really like the sound of the voice denoise, but for a lot of people, you've spent the $15 kajillion on Isotope, so just use what you have. Don't feel you need to spend kajillion more dollars for other plugins. Bertum Audio Denoiser Classic that's a free one. There's so many options. I don't have a bunch. When I upgraded machines, I didn't bring all my plugins because it's like I'll just use the ones that I like. The one I like for more offline processing is this Acon and Young Jeezy, trying to keep it easy, Acon Digital Extract, which is very good. But I'll show you how I use that when I have to. So anyways, use what plugins you have. I'm actually gonna destroy this one because I'm so disgusted by its sound. So that's an example. The other thing you can do, let's say, well, you can see here, like this, let me just make sure the dialogue is soloed. This angle, yeah, you guys can see this, is noisier than this angle. We might be able to hear it.
Hey, man, I'm gonna need that back.
Man, deal is a deal. You hear me?
Let's go to the car chase.
Why'd you have to bring it back, man? What happened to the Dodge Caravan?
Needs an ignition coil. Pull over.
So this motorcycle helmet stuff was actually recorded with a mic in his helmet. I think I put it like around here. So he's like, going 30 miles an hour. And I used Cedar on this, but let's just make this inactive just to kind of show you what the raw sounds
What happened to
like.
the Dodge Caravan?
Needs an ignition coil. Pull over. I need it.
And then, the Futz is even noisier because it's got uber compression on it. So this is an instance where I would probably, process just the, the bike side of the lines. Let me make this inactive as well so you can really hear. When you add compression, you bring the noise floor up, so you'll see.
Needs an ignition coil. Pull over. I need it back.
I know this is...
You know, that's real bike engine, you know, RPMs. I think it was a KLR 650 or something like that. So pretty loud. And what I actually prefer to do, since I usually have RX Connect up, you know, because I'm dealing with this terrible dialogue that the dialogue editor has done or whatever, is I will send it, and I've been messing with Keyboard Maestro, so I've got shortcuts for all this stuff. But the way I will normally do it, instead of in Pro Tools, you know, going to Audio Suite, is I'll just send everything to Isotope, and I'll stack them up, and then I'll hit Shift P to do my plugin process. And what that does is runs Acon Digital Extract Dialogue at -6. And you can change the settings. You can. What I try to do with this, though, is if it's like super noisy, I'll just hit it again. So it should be about 12 dB. And then I hit Tab to send it back, and I render it. And now let's listen to it.
Caravan.
Needs an ignition coil. Pull over. I need it back.
I know this is...
So that's fine to me. I did not save a copy on my X tracks, though. So fail on that, and you're fired. But I have the... Before I did anything, like declick or send it to Isotope, I saved a copy down here, so I can always go back. Another kind of secret hint, trick, whatever you want to call it. You guys are going to love this. Right-click on your dialogue tracks, select Field Recorder Guide track, and then if you say, I don't like this noise reduction, you can just go back. Go back a step.
Needs an ignition coil. Needs an ignition coil.
Downside is it does get rid of the clip gain, but this is a super awesome way to, as long as the files are in your session, going back kind of through multiple versions, just right-click, Field Recorder. You can even go back to the original recording doing that. So yeah, that is a very powerful trick to use when you're mixing, or dialogue editing, really. Just make your dialogue tracks Field Recorder, and then right-click, and you can go back through all the versions. Kind of like in DaVinci Resolve, how you can go back through iterations of an audio process, same deal. Okay, so yeah, so I really, for offline processing, I like Acon Digital Extract Dialogue. Mark Hensley actually kind of promoted this, and I don't have the Mark Hensley signature version. It's just the standard version, but it works great. It's super fast, very processor efficient. It works faster and better than Dialogue Isolate in in Isotope. And I just upgraded to RX 11, and they added sliders for reverb and noise. Dialogue Isolate works okay, but it does give you some of that rubbery edge to the dialogue, so it's kind of not super preferred. But what I can do actually is just go back to the initial state and kind of show you guys what it sounds like.
Pull over. I need...
We'll take the voice at 0. There's no reverb. I mean, there's helmet reflections, but let's take the noise down the same amount, 12 dB, I guess.
Pull over. I need it back.
It sounds gated. That's the thing I don't like about this. Let me crank up the sensitivity, see what that does.
Pull over. I need it back.
Nah, it just doesn't sound good. It's cleaner, but not better.
Pull over. I need it back.
Even at -6, it's no bueno.
Pull over. I need it back.
Yeah, I mean that raw version is so much better. Okay, so covered examples. Yeah, let's talk about some more cheats on this. So let me find a better stretch. I mean, we'll keep that like that. Here, there's kind of like a waterfall in the dialogue.
You brought a gun.
I want it back.
Now I'm using Cedar on this, so I need to make all the Cedars inactive because I want to show you how you can just make your own Cedar for free. I might need to like clip this section out because I think a lot of people are going to like this. So here's the raw, EQ'd, volume, mixed, you know, compressed. Well, not really. It's actually tiny compressed dialogue.
You brought a gun.
I want it back.
Here.
Put it down.
I would, man. You know, my back, it's just, this job really takes a toll on the body. You know. Come on, man. Just take it.
So you can hear the noise. It's pretty consistent up till he says take it, because he said it's so low and the music's going, so I brought it up so it could be heard over that. But yeah, that is actually another thing to talk about is gain staging. Because I rode this up with a VCA and that's going into the aux. So this, I'll let you guys pick. Do you want to do this on the aux, the routing folder, bus, whatever you want to call it, or do you want to do this on the individual tracks? And I will just go back through comments while you guys vote. So tracks or aux, just comment tracks or aux and you guys will get to pick. We're going to do a poor man Cedar on this. Okay. Lara says, what's the most challenging part of cleaning up dialogue? Oh yeah, easily. Fill. Finding production fill for these nice smooth fades in and out is the hardest, most heart-wrenching, annoying part of dialogue editing. And that's why tiny sales pitch for Absentia, even though not sponsored or kickbacks or anything from them. I just like the tool. I've been using this for years. Their air tone generator works, I would say 80% of the time. It definitely works better than the isotope ambience match, although the ambience match has gotten a little bit better. But this, you know, if you don't have that long 5-second chunk of fill, it will generally do an okay job. Most of the time I do have to go in and edit the fill to make it perfect, but that's the hardest part of dialogue editing. Merdad says, will this live be saved? Yes, I will. All my live streams, I upload them after, or they're already uploaded, but they're just posted. There should be a live or live stream tab. You can go and watch it there. Supertone Clear, I think I demoed it and it kind of did the same thing as the Akon and Young Jeezy one I have. So I was like, do I really want to spend, even if it's like 75 bucks, do I need to? No, I'm not a plugin junkie. I know a lot of people are, like the new plugin comes out, all the influencers go and, oh my God, and they do the thumbnail where they're like, you know, pointing at the thing, which I'm sure they do like 57 pictures and they pick the one that makes them look the least ugly and they're just goofy pointing at stuff. And no, don't give these companies your money unless you need the tool. For me, like Absentia, I liked that it was made by Todd AO because they're legends. And, you know, if they made a tool that helps their dialogue editors, it's probably going to help me. And it is just awesome. It's one of my most used tools. You know, RX Advanced, everybody who works in post is going to need that, unless maybe just do sound effects. But like, you know, I demoed Waves Clarity, I demoed Clear, I've played around with Hush Pro, and they all kind of do similar type of things. So it's like, why would I spend more money? I have the tools that I need. When something comes out that's like, whoa, that is, you know, really cool, which I'll show you a couple of them, then maybe I'll break out the pocketbook for that stuff. But I say just buy what you need and, you know, don't get gear acquisition syndrome or plug-in acquisition syndrome. Pass. Marco says, a sincere acknowledgement to everyone in the chat striving for improvement and growth. And a special shout out to Thomas for generously sharing his knowledge with us, especially on his birthday. My birthday was yesterday. I'm back to doing stuff. So thank you though. Okay, so let me go through the votes here. Well, House of Jen, super noob question. What's the difference between tracks and an aux? Great idea for a video. Let me write that down. I got my college rule notebook here, and I've been trying to come up with ideas, so that is a good general aux versus track. Ooh, this pen got too cold. Okay, just to answer your question, a track is a unit that feeds into an aux. Another way to look at it is a tree with branches. The branches are the tracks, and they feed a trunk, which is your aux. Or you could say, yeah, well, the trunk would probably be like your mix. So you have your little sticks that feed a main branch, and the main branch would be your aux, and then that feeds your trunk, which is your mix. So an aux is a collection point for a bunch of tracks to do bus processing or spit it out to a stem, dialogue stem, sound effect stem, or music. You would probably bus all of your drum tracks to a drum stem. Same with vocals, guitars, synthesizers, aux percussion. So yeah, good question though. Let's see. Okay, mostly people are voting for aux. Okay, so undertone light is good. Yeah, for Phil too. Why did I not buy it? I demoed it, and then they came out with a new version, and I demoed it again, and for some reason I didn't like it. I don't remember why. But yeah, don't take my word for it. Just pick what you want. Okay, so what was I going to do? Oh yeah, okay. Poor man Cedar, great trick. If you don't have WNS, you don't have Cedar, you do have some kind of multi-band compressor. So let's go, probably Pro Multiband Dynamics. Let's go with that one. And yeah, this will work. I think, yeah, I need to import my presets from my old computer. But anyways, this is cool because what you do is you take your threshold. Most people would use a multiband compressor to, the signals here, and they want to knock down like the mids. They want to compress the mids more. But you can also use it upside down, just flip it, and use the threshold as a noise reduction threshold. So I know from experience, most of the time, noise, if the dialogue is averaging minus 24, 20, 18, 27, the noise is going to be between minus 60 and minus 40. And this is like kind of a broadband noise, not too rumbly, not too hissy. So the overall shape is going to be kind of like this. And you can even see it. You could use the combination. I think does this have the, yeah, it does have a little bit.
You brought a gun.
So just take the threshold down, and you can actually shape this a little bit for different, maybe there's more mid-range, more low mids, more low frequencies. Generally, you do less reduction on the high-end stuff, but the threshold's actually lower. So the louder the noise, the higher your threshold is going to need to be. But you want to set the threshold below the level of the dialogue. So let's just start this at 33, and you end up with a shape that's kind of like this. Now, what we need to do is set the, trying to remember, the depth needs to go up, and then the gain has to go down. I'm pretty sure it's been a while since I've done this. No, that's right. You want the depth to get you back to 0. And then you can change the attack and release too. So let's see what that does.
You brought a gun.
Okay, so that's too low.
You brought a gun.
I want it back.
Here.
It's going to take me a while to remember how I did this. Oh, that's right, it's flip. you flip it. Yeah, okay. Sorry about that. I was like, why isn't this not sounding right?
You brought a gun. I want it back.
And then
Here.
the depth has to go down. My bad, guys. I did this the wrong way.
I would, man. You know, my back, it's just this job.
Okay, so the depth is going to be your amount of reduction, and the threshold is where the noise is at. So it's kind of like the Cedar where you have your band adjustment and you have your threshold, but you actually have the threshold per band, which is kind of nice. So I'm going to loop this section. Stupid Yukon. And I'm bringing the threshold, let's start with all the way down. So we want close to no reduction. And I'm going to bring it up until it starts tickling the noise. That's already pretty low. And can I go lower? Yeah, I can. So you want to set the threshold to where it's just above the noise. And there's some scuffing and stuff, so it's going to be a little bit hard to do. And then we could bypass it to hear what it's doing. And now we're going to set the depth to just take out a little bit. I want to keep more of that high-end stuff in there. So let's listen to this with the multi-band compressor enabled and disabled. We'll just loop this section.
You brought a gun. I want it back.
Bypass?
Here. You brought a gun. I want it back.
Enabled?
Here. You brought a gun. I want it back. Here. You brought a gun. I want it back. Here. You brought a gun. I want it back. Here. You brought a gun. I want it back. Here. You brought a gun. I want it back. Here. You brought a gun. I want it back. Here. You brought a gun. I want it back. Here. You brought a gun. I want it back. Here. You brought a gun.
So you can hear, sorry I looped that so much, but I wanted you guys to be able to hear me turning it off and on. The important thing to listen for is just the fact that the voice is approximately the same level with it bypassed or engaged, but that the noise has been reduced. And I'd say we reduce the noise with a multi-band compressor about 6 to 8 dB, which is pretty good. So you could do this with the built-in Pro multi-band dynamics that comes with Pro Tools Ultimate. You could also do it with your Fab Filter multi-band, what do they call it here? It might be a multi-mono. MB, yeah, Pro MB, or take your pick. You know, any multi-band compressor expander can do this. Oh, the echo. I've got my monitors muted. It might be bleed from my headphones. My headphones are semi-open back, so you know a little bit is coming out, and I don't have my mic muted, but I can easily fix that. I'll play this scene back. Just keep an eye on the bypass button, and so you can kind of tell when it's engaged or disengaged. Let me mute my mic.
You brought a gun. I want it back. Here.
Put it down.
I would, man. You know, my back, it's just, this job really takes a toll on the body. You know. Come on, man. Just... You brought a gun. I want it back. Here.
So that should give you an idea of just how powerful a simple multi-band compressor can be for noise reduction. And I'd say that sounds pretty close to a Cedar. It kind of gives it that like warm, cleaner but not processed sound. And artifacts are one of the things you'll fight with noise reduction, even real-time noise reduction. Even Cedar, you know, Cedar will cause artifacts in the noise, and you want to be mindful of that. Okay. Let me just go through some questions. Do you ever feel like you want to add off dialogue or laughs or small interactions from other takes to give more life to a scene? Yes, those are ads. And that's kind of fun, building scenes with those. Gaston also asks, is Cedar so much more better than WNS from Waves? Yes, although I've seen WNS from Waves in the right hands of a very capable big-time mixer, and they used it very well, and it sounded good. So I don't think you necessarily need Cedar. To me, Cedar sounds a little more pleasant, and it can bite a little more into the noise without hurting the dialogue. Is it worth the price? That's kind of up to you. For me, it was. But yeah, there's other tools to use. Okay. Yes. Okay, so Ken Butterfly, I just showed you multi-band noise reduction. It's super useful. Can you talk about working on something like The Last of Us or period shows where using production fill may be unusable? Yes. Okay, so that's a good question. So you still have to fill. Even if it's, you know, the production fill has noise in it that you don't want, it's there, and you need to make it consistent for the mixer. So I've worked on a couple period shows or post-apocalyptic where it needs to be very quiet. I think I did a couple episodes in 1923, and there was like a couple episodes of The Last of Us that I worked on. You know, and there's many other period shows or whatever where there's cars and like there shouldn't be any cars, or there's an airplane overhead. So you do, if it's just a din, you know, like a low level constant background, you have to do this, you know, you have to fill it through and let the mixer decide how much of that to take out, because the sound effects editors are going to be adding probably some wind or creaks and some stuff that will help mask the traffic sound. But as a dialogue editor, it's not your place to make that decision. That needs to be made in the context of the other tracks. So just, even if the noise bothers you when you're dialogue editing, just edit. Just fill it out, make it nice, make it smooth, and save all the decisions for how much do we take out, how much do we leave for the mix. If you're mixing, that's great, but still save the decision for when you have all the tracks. Okay. Would you manually ride the threshold in the louder part? Yes, I should have showed you guys that. And of course, I took the plugin away, so I'd have to reset it up. Yeah, you would have to ride the threshold up. That's kind of why I was asking you guys if you wanted me to do it on an aux or the tracks. The benefit of the aux is you're processing all the tracks through one pipe. That's another description I should have used. It's like a main sewer pipe for all the crap going in. But the benefit of doing it on the track, which is how I have my Cedars set up, is that you can, you know, here's the noise threshold, and it's consistent for this whole clip. So now when I raise the volume of that, it's raising the cleaned up audio. It's not raising the threshold into the noise reduction to where now the threshold is too low, you know, to catch the noise, and I have to ride the threshold up. So I just like working on the tracks for noise reduction. And it also makes it to where if I have one shot that's noisy, like let's say this shot was super noisy, I'll just process this one shot with Cedar and leave the rest not noise reduced at all. And then I'm just doing the least amount possible, you know, do no harm. Do you have a video on how to use compressors? I think I just did a video on dialogue compression. So check that out. Why do you run noise reduction in real time as opposed to committing it but keep the original byte in case you have to go back? As I talked about in the beginning of the stream, I like to do that because I'm not committing to the amount of noise reduction. So I'm keeping that everything live so that I can dynamically adjust the noise reduction amount and threshold and everything in the context of the mix. For example, on this scene, I have used Cedar to take out some little bit, 3 dB of the water sound that's, there's a creek running behind these guys. So there's music and backgrounds, and if I were to, let's say, lower the music, I might need to do a little more noise reduction so that I can still hear the music behind the noise. Conversely, if I raise the backgrounds or raise the noise, raise the music, the noise reduction can be doing less because effectively the music and backgrounds become the noise threshold or noise floor of the scene. So by leaving this live, you can adjust it on the fly. You'll also say, hey, can you, the director might say, can you clean that line up a little bit more? Okay, great. Then you just grab, your bands and tuck them down a little bit. Or with the RX voice denoise, it's just a single slider that you grab with your control surface, bring it down, done. It's not like, hold on, let me bust out Audio Suite and reprocess. You're just keeping everything alive in the mix. Do you think multiband expansion was how some of the OG engineers did noise reduction in the 70s on films? And they're like, yes, they used a unit called the Cap 43, I believe. Let me have Jamie pull that up real quick. Sorry, my stomach's rumbling. Is it a Dolby? Let's see if I can find a picture of this. There we go. So this is kind of what where's this picture at? This is kind of what the WNS is based on. Let me see if I can find a bigger picture of this. Wow, that's cool. And it's just like, it's also, yeah, WNS is definitely based on this. There we go, okay. So, and Cedar's based on this too, but Cedar has more bands. So you've got your threshold and then your 4 bands, and let's see, compare that to Cedar. Here. I can't, oh yeah, I could make this smaller. It looks pretty similar to me. What do you guys think? So Cedar, you can say what bands you want it to grab or whatever. But yeah, this is kind of the original noise reduction unit that was used in old films and for optical tracks and that kind of stuff. So good question, and yeah. Yeah, how long you been mixing for? I started mixing in 2010, so it's been about 14 years. Let me just go through, okay, cheap, free, multi-band compressor, we covered that. Okay, dark horse options. This is a long ass stream, 925, great. Okay, so a couple of dark horse options. There's one here, and Jamie just pulled this one up for me. It's, I never know how to say this, but, so this one I actually have like an affiliate link with them. It's great. The downside is, for now anyways, you have to drag it from Finder, like drag your audio file from Finder, throw it in there, and then download it and re-import it back into Pro Tools. It does seem like they're planning to, it looks like they're, yeah, okay, it's the apps. It says VST plugin coming soon. So I don't know if they're going to do AAX, but for splitting noise from dialogue, and actually I can just show this to you, I think. Let's pick let's do the bike one. This would be a good one to show you. Let's do the original bike recording here, and I'll show you kind of what this sounds like. Another one that, so what I do to send stuff through this is I consolidate it. and I'll call this whatever, Moto Chase. And then I'll need to bring up, let me go find it on here. Another one I've seen people use, which I'm not super happy about, is the Adobe Podcast Enhance. Not a huge fan of that. So if I go here, let me go to products, voice cleaner. So you can separate stems with this app. You can do all kinds of cool stuff. I've used it to separate music from voice for documentaries and things like that. So you just drag your file in there and it does its thing. It'll give you a preview of the voice, and you can also listen to the noise, and then you can listen to both. I don't think you guys are going to hear this because I don't have Chrome hooked up. So let me split in full and then I'll download them. So while that cooks, let me just go through. Yeah, Adobe Enhance is another one. Let me see if I can just bring that up. Adobe Enhance. This one, unfortunately, gives like a really robotic type of sound to, I mean, might as well A/B this, right? It kind of does some weird stuff. Like, it doesn't sound great, and I kind of don't like using it because it's more gross. Like, it kind of has a gross sound. Let me put this, projects, Tom, family heirloom. We'll just do this, call this a split folder. This is kind of my workflow for stuff, as I make a split folder. That's good, download that, split folder. So let's compare these two tools. This is gonna compare Lala AI, or Lala whatever, and Adobe Enhance. Oh, and this is zipped. So you have to unzip it, but please don't unzip it. And here's the Adobe. So the difference between these two is Enhance tends to robofy and like kind of approximate what it should sound like if it was recorded in a studio. And then Lala will just clean off the noise. So we'll go through the original.
So give it back.
Then here's the Lala just dialogue.
So give it back.
Here's the enhanced robo.
So give it back.
Yeah, see, I don't like that. But the cool, like I said, the cool thing about Lala is you have the noise and the voice splits. You can combine them.
So give it back.
And that sounds just like the original.
So give it back.
And the cleaned up dialogue, let's listen to this little bite.
I can't hear nothing. I can't hear nothing.
So you hear that little vibrato added in there? You know, that's not good.
I need it back.
And that's the Adobe Robo, and here's the Lala AI.
I need it back.
And here's the original.
I need it back.
So the Lala AI is pretty good, you know.
So give it back.
That's like squeaky clean, but it gives you the noise separate, so you can blend it in. The other thing I kind of like to do with this, get that shit out of there, is this kind of deal where you have the super clean, but you blend it not just with the noise of the original, but the signal. And you do, this is always a good thing to do. Just grab auto align post, set this to, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think, is it 4 or 5? It's 5. And align the process to the clean. It was already aligned perfectly. That's another nice thing about Lala, is it keeps a phase relationship. Yeah, like that process did nothing. So now we can combine the noisy and the clean to taste. You know, just grab a couple faders.
So give it back.
Obviously there's some ticks in there I'll need to do, but that way you can have the life, but also have the clean and keep everybody happy, you know, with kind of best of both worlds. So yeah, DX Revive is good. I don't like some of the stuff it does to the low end on clips. There's just, if you're listening on headphones or you have good monitors, you can hear the like mechanical aspect of what it does. So if I really need to clean something up, I'll use this Lala thing because it doesn't have that. It literally splits the noise off from the dialogue, and DX Revive is like adding harmonics and adding tonal stuff that I don't really like. I want it to sound real. So, and that's another reason I don't like the Adobe Enhance. So, yeah. Okay, so yeah, good. I don't think there's any more questions for that stuff. Hush, I've got Hush too. I'm demoing it. I haven't plunked down. I might plunk down the cache for it. I think Mix is the one I use. It takes a while to load, and this is another AI thing. Let me just solo so we can get apples to apples on this. This is cool though because you can duck the reverb and noise, but let's see with Hush Pro.
So give it back.
And see, it's got some of that robo stuff going on.
So give it back.
Whereas Lala is just like clean. The K is a little weird. It kind of sounds like a little trap snare. But the Hush Mix,
So give it back.
it's got a little transformer stuff going on. So I'm still not quite sure on this. I know, you wouldn't normally use it soloed. You just duck this stuff. But I want it to be apples to apples, and Lala got rid of all the noise. So if Hush Mix can't do it, then, I'll just use this if I ever need to do this, which is pretty rare. Okay. Okay, let's see. Yeah, I've tried Gaston. I've tried the different algorithms. And the tools I have already, with Acon and this, once they have a plugin for Lala, I think I'm going to be completely set and not have to go outside of Pro Tools. But I just don't want to have like 10 different noise reduction plugins. I want to have like 2 or 3 that do the 2 or 3 different things that I need, and then just work. I don't want to get caught up in, oh, should I buy that other plugin that people are really pushing for, and then here's an affiliate link, and it's only $79.99 because it's Black Friday. Do I need to buy this right now? Is my worth as a mixer completely dependent on the amount of money I spend on plugins? And what are people going to think if I'm just not biting on whatever bait is jiggled in front of me every 6 weeks on a new AI plugin that uses a neural net? How am I going to survive with just a handful of tools? And you know what? A country boy will survive. So I'm not too worried about it. So yeah, we covered some dark horse options, and I can take these off. I don't need to listen anymore. I think at this point, I'm pretty much done with what I wanted to say. It's been a, whoa, almost dropped them, 90-minute stream. So I could have easily watched a rom-com by now. I don't have a ton of stuff to work on, so if you guys have questions, now would be a great time to throw them out. Comments, I don't normally beg for super chats or like and subscribe or any of that stuff. You guys, if you want to subscribe, great. If not, don't worry about it. If you want to be a member, great. If you don't worry about it. I will figure out how to, keep this channel going and keep my work going. And if I gotta do roofing for a couple months, that's fine too. It was just my birthday, so if you did want to buy me, a hoppy IPA or one of them fancy $5 Starbucks coffees that makes it to where millennials cannot buy houses, that would be fine. But you don't have to, and it doesn't affect my mood or anything at all. So it's kind of up to you guys. So questions, please bring them. Give me questions, give me ideas for videos. I can show you more stuff in Pro Tools. I am yours for the next, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, whatever you want, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. I could say bye right now. So just tell me what, what you're looking for, what questions you have. This is the topic of noise reduction, so maybe we kind of try to keep it to that. Yeah, I mean, I covered stuff that I wanted to. Okay. Could you do a video on how your sourcing work? This comes from Chris Turbeville. I mean, it wouldn't help you guys because I get work through connections, and I can't make connections for you. You kind of have to just go out and do that. You have to work on stuff and build relationships with people. There's no shortcuts for that. It's not like, you know, a 5-minute tutorial on that will really help. And honestly, it kind of ventures outside of audio. I mean, I guess I could. It's more of like business stuff, you know, running a business or networking. But the thing is, what worked for me probably won't work for you. I moved to Los Angeles, made connections, and then use those connections to find work after I moved away. So you can do that if you want, but it's going to start with you moving to LA or Hyderabad or Toronto, or I don't know where film happens in Australia, but you're gonna have to go to London. You're gonna have to go to the hub of where all this stuff is happening. And unfortunately, right now, there's not much happening because the industry is completely shaken up. So the advice I give you, really the best career advice I could give you, is to live within your means. Don't spend too much money. Do the best work you can, and really value people in your work, because people are the ones who are going to get you jobs, and they're the ones who are going to pay your bills. So the more you can work on your people skills while you're building your professional audio skills, the better your career is going to go. Timo Sila Sound, what about bits that are beyond repair? Do you spot ADR in the dial? Get it? Yes. Generally I do that like when I open the project. I'll go through and be like, oh, ADR right there. You know, I'll look for alts too. Alts generally solve most problems. Sometimes they don't. So you have to do ADR. Got a happy birthday. Thank you very much. Kevin Broman. Yes, Kevin, I know the field recorder workflow. The problem is I need to record some audio. It doesn't have to be even real audio, but I need to do metadata and stuff. For this project, I did not do a good job of slating takes because I knew it was me doing sound and video, and it was 2 actors, and that was it. So I think we had like a boom op help for a little bit, but like I couldn't manage the take names, and I should have, but I didn't. So I'll have to like go record some production down, because I'm not going to use a union project for that, because it's like a breach of every professional rule I could break. So good question. I've got that. Maybe I don't have it written down. I'll write that down on my handy dandy notebook. FRT, because I know what that stands for, field recorder track. Okay, how to fit ADR recorded material in the scene, like how to make them sound good when all the other scenes are ton. Production, maybe, is that what you mean? The best thing I can say about ADR is to just record it in the same situation, the same location, with the same microphone, same projection, pitch, and performance of the original audio. That would mean if the scene's outside, take the actors outside, record them outside, get them in the same clothes, get them in the same mindset, and it's going to match perfectly. Don't have them look at the picture, have them listen to their words, because 99% of the ADR problems can be fixed when you're recording it. If you're dealing with crappy ADR that was recorded in a closet, or a hip-hop vocal booth that's all boxy, then you're kind of screwed. You can dirty up the production sound and use impulse responses, but most of it comes down to EQ matching by ear, volume, backgrounds, and adding Foley underneath so that it looks like when they move, there's sound associated with it. Are there any conditions where you'd globally apply a process at super low levels? If I have a project where the dialogue is sibilant, you know, it was recorded with cheap mics, or the actors are just sibilant, I have a de-esser here, it's bypassed. I'll just unbypass it for the line that needs it. But I've really started dealing with sibilance in Isotope, because it's more precise. So I'll show you what sibilance looks like. Nope, don't care about any of that. So this guy's not very sibilant, but you can see S is here, and here, and here, and there's an F, or no, that's just air coming out. So if you wanted to deal with sibilance, you can use the de-esser in here, but I also kind of like to use the spectral repair and just take this slider way down. 3 on my keyboard is spectral repair, and then the S is reduced. So it's manually going through and doing that. You can also do clip gain, but if you do clip gain, you're going to lower the noise because you're doing a broadband process, and really just want to turn the S down a little bit. Okay, more questions. Could you make an RX module chain for podcast dialogue cleanup that we can purchase? I've got module chains on my website, so check them out. They're a good starting point for most things, including a podcast cleanup. Okay, there's a couple more up here. So Kevin, yeah, I'll get to your field recorder video. That's a good one. I just have to get actually, if somebody has a short they want me to use that's not this short, just to mix it up a little bit, that'd be sick. Any conditions read globally? Okay, DS, already covered that. Stephen S., I noticed you on a discussion on Facebook about high passing, low passing dialogue tracks to help reduce noise. Yeah, I mean, if you look at my default EQ, I've got an 80 hertz high pass with a EQ of 1.074 12 dB per octave. It's really not doing a ton. It's not like I've seen people do a 24 dB, like just a cut like that. I like to go really subtle with it, and then the low pass is sometimes if something needs to sound like a classic, like a Tarantino film or something, what I'll do is I'll change these to like 6 dB per octave and roll them up. This is at 180, but if you look here, at 180, it's only reducing it, 2 or 3 dB. But this kind of gentle high pass and gentle low pass, like take this guy down to like 6 or 7. At 10K, it's down about 6 dB, and then at 20K, it's down 12. So these gentle slopes will give you a more classic Hollywood, vintage sound, where the analog machinery actually had a built-in roll-off high and low because of, as a Nagra or whatever, or Nagra if you're fancy. So feel free to experiment with that. But yeah, that's enabled on all my dialogue tracks to start with. How do you deal with PFX? I know they're ones totally isolated, but when they're mixed in with the dialogue, I just leave them, and then when I do the M&E, I'll split them out. And you can turn them down. One thing you can do that's really fun, and some mixers appreciate it, some will be annoyed by it, is like here, if you have a spiky thing, you can always copy, paste it down, but then you have to backfill where you did it, which kind of is annoying, and then you have to do a fade in, fade out. So you can do this, that way the transient can be adjusted, down, like they're like, I like it, but not that much, then you just bring it down. And so yeah, you can do that. I'll do that with lip smacks a lot of the time, because you want the smack, but you want it to be not, killing your compressors. So good question. Video on how to EQ or process dialogue for some specific places, like a phone call. That's too simple, man. Yeah, I guess, for like a 2 to 5 minute video, FUTS track is a good idea, FUTS. And people this is another plug-in thing where people are like, oh, bro, you got to get speakerphone and FUTS box, and you have to get Soundly Place It, and you don't. Just use an EQ. Look what's on my FUTS tracks. EQ, compression. This is a slammed compressor. It's adding harmonic distortion because of the, ratio is 100 to 1. I could change the style even if I wanted to add more. But, this is enough for a phone call. This sounds like a phone call. Here, listen to this. Phone call.
Pull over. I need it back.
EQ compression, a little noise reduction, that's it. Okay, good question. Any thoughts on FabFilter 4? Haven't checked it out yet. It's probably great. I don't need it, so I don't buy stuff until I need it. And I'd say do the same thing. Have you found a good ambience match, reverb match plugin? Yeah, Chameleon. Chameleon 2 is good for that. I've been using Chameleon for a while, and it's nice because you just create new reverb, preview it, it kind of does its thing, and then you can apply that to a different piece of audio. Apply now, And then the cool thing I like to do is just do 100% wet version, copy it down, and have, you know, like, whoops, that didn't work. Oh, because I didn't do that. You know, now I can mix the reverb in with the signal to taste. So Chameleon's really good for that. Hi Tom, could you do a video on how you edit mix spot with different edits? Oh no, not commercials. Oh gosh. I try to do as few commercials as possible because you get 100 notes per day and you end up with like version 57 and then you have to do the damn cut downs. So that sounds like a lot of work. But just kind of a quick overview, I'll do the longest version and then I'll copy and paste stuff to the shorter versions. About ADR again, how do you run on first time the session? Okay, let me, prefer to try clean fix first. Okay, you can always pregúntame en español too. That would be fine. Okay, so, okay, yeah, clean it first, then cue for ADR. I generally know how far I can clean something up, but I will always try. And it also makes the ADR easier. You know, save a non-processed copy on X-Tracks, but if you can clean it up, you still have to ADR it. The actors can hear themselves better, so it's a good idea to try to clean it up before you ADR, always. House of Jen, do you have a video covering common industry terms like ADR, PFX, AAF, etc.? That's a good idea too. Terms and shorthand. This pen is dead. Oh, yeah, here we go. Number 2. Terms and shorthand. PFX, MOS, ADR, EFX, MX, DX, PFill. That's a good idea. Any more questions? Coming up on 2 hours. This has been an amazing stream, so thank you guys for all the chats and the likes and subscribes and other YouTube stuff, I guess. Trying to think of any other noise reduction-y type things I can... Oh, the giveaway. Yeah, I forgot. Let me see, do I have... Can I paste this into the chat? I might not be able to paste it. No, I can't. There's a giveaway on my channel. This is not really it's not doing anything for me. It's just a nice thing. I am giving this away. My beloved PreSonus Fader Port 16. I think I bought this for like $900. They're down now. They're like $600-700. But I'm giving this away. So you can go on my video tab of my channel and click the video, follow the instructions. But basically, on that video, not this one, you leave me an audio joke in the comments. And like December 30th or 31st, I'm going to read all the, well, probably not all the jokes. I'll read most of the jokes on the good ones on a live stream, and whichever one makes me laugh the most or makes you guys laugh the most, I will ship this to you. So there's rules on that video, you know, US resident, Canada resident, etc. But yeah, that's something I can plug because it's just gonna sit here and collect dust. I have an S1 now. I could sell this on Facebook Marketplace for, you know, a couple $100 and deal with strangers coming to my studio, or I could give it to somebody who actually needs it. And I gave my last control surface away to a local gal, and it's really helped her out. So I figured that'd be a nice thing I could do for end of the year. So yeah. Okay. Beginner course on Pro Tools. That's another good idea. Yeah, and I need to figure out how to overlay keystrokes. That's a great idea. Beginner video. Like super basic. Like I kind of have done that already, but here's how you open an AAF. And here's how you organize stuff. Yeah, that would work. Like super beginner. The problem with that, excuse me, is generally the people that have Pro Tools are a little bit beyond that stage of like, I need you to hold my hand and wipe my butt. But for somebody who is coming from a music background, so maybe that's a good thing, is like shifting gears from music to post. Because a lot of people do that. They think they're going to make a bunch of money doing music. They make their MPC beats and record rappers for $25 an hour and then realize they can't pay their bills. And then a buddy's like, oh, dude, I have this video. Can you clean up the sound? That's how I got into it. So I'm sure other people have done the same path. Pro Tools, shortcuts, and custom hotkeys. Yep, that's a good one. Keyboard efficiency. Probably could roll that into like a keyboard maestro because I've been demoing that. People have talked it up. I really don't like the Stream Deck subscription thing. And the guy who makes Stream Deck is super responsive and nice. And I like the idea of that and the custom macros and everything. I just don't like having another subscription. That's the only... And I demoed it and like with the Stream Deck, you know, where like my hand is like going over here to push a button. And it's faster to have my hands on the keyboard. So I've been demoing Keyboard Maestro, and I'm already fast as a dialogue editor, but it is just like shifted down into second and engaged that turbo boost on sending stuff to Isotope, and that Isotope keyboard shortcuts are super customizable, but like sending to and from Connect is like always where the process gets bogged down. So that'd be a good thing to cover. Okay. Paul Cruz, my brother from another mother, says, who is leading? I haven't gone through the jokes in a while, so there was one that made me laugh pretty heartily. So I don't know. Yeah, I'll have to go through them live and see. He also says, happy birthday. How old were you when you discovered Santa was fake? He's fake? What? You have destroyed my worldview, sir. I think I was 7. Do you find Stream Deck with SoundFlow and mix facility in LA? I only mixed one film, actually 2 films in LA last year, and I think the mixers there brought their own in, and I didn't use it, so I didn't notice it. Seemed like it'd be easy to set up, but the problem with renting a studio is asking them to install a bunch of stuff for you is usually like, that's why people use stock plugins, because they don't want to do it. Their systems are locked down a lot of the time. Okay, Brandon Wells says, not sure if this can be a video, but tips on building relationships in the industry with fellow audio people, the non-technicals. Yeah, that'd be good. Okay. Keyboard Maestro's background processes, which I found oppressive and obnoxious. Yes, yeah, I agree. There's a couple things about it I'm not super happy about, but it just works. And if you strip down some of that stuff, it's usually, I found it to be pretty good. Santa can't come to America. We have no chimneys. You're probably talking about Africa. Yeah, we have a chimney. It's not very big though. Have you done a video on organizing sound libraries for efficient sound effects editing? Oh no. Oh. You should see my garage. The tools are just kind of, I wouldn't say organized, that's the wrong word for it. They are haphazardly strewn about, and unfortunately my sound effects library is the same way. I know where stuff is. I know where that 10mm box end is. I know where the brake bleeder's at. I know where the inch-pound torque wrench and the impact and the Sawzall and the cutoff tool. I know where all that stuff is, but nobody else does. And my sound effects library is kind of the same way. I know what to search for, but I'm just not an organizer. I am a bull in a china shop, so that video would be terrible and not help anybody, and it would make me sad. So I appreciate the idea, but I just recognize my strengths as well as my weaknesses, and being organized is not one of my strengths. Yeah, Paul, you should still have Santa. Santa goes all around the world. I'm sure there's some kind of Santa presence in different countries in Africa. What does the power of saying no do to us? Do to us. So are you saying us saying no to a client, or the client saying no to us? Yeah, that's a good question. I've this year had my first job that I walked away from, and it was me saying no. And it wasn't because of the work or the content, or it wasn't like anything to do with the actual project. It was the client disrespecting me repeatedly. And I've got super thick skin. I can take the most scathing notes, like, Tom, this is terrible. You know, this sounds bad, and I don't like this sound, and I want you to do this. And I tried to do all that stuff. And I did, like, for basically nothing, what I thought was a pretty good job dealing with some difficult audio. And I tried to explain that cleaning things up too much, just like we talked about today, was not good. It did the actors a disservice, and when you add in Foley and backgrounds, it's going to be too clean. And he kept pushing me to do more processing, and it got to the point where I was like, hey, you know, I'm starting to be uncomfortable with the amount of processing you want on this. So I'm more than willing to, you know, give you the project back so that you can take it to where you want it to be. And that's when the disrespect started. So I gave an initial warning, like, hey, you know, I don't like being talked to that way. I'm doing as much as I can for this, and I'm not charging you very much, and I'm just trying to, because I like this project, make it as good as it can possibly be, and that's why you have me working on it, because you trust my judgment on this. So just please, let's wait and see kind of like, you know, where we need to take more noise out, or you know, push things a little harder. And being called unprofessional was like, just like, it got my blood boiling, and I calmed myself down, and I told him, like, hey, please, that's disrespectful. I don't like being called that. And then he did it again, and I was like, dude, no. Here's the project. I'm not going to charge you. You know, keep your money, and good luck. And I walked away from it. And it was kind of liberating, but at the same time, I really liked the project, and I don't mind friction with the client. I don't mind butting heads with them and them giving me a hard time. And I, you know, unless they're open to it, I don't give them a hard time back. It's just me, you know, taking punches and everything. And that's all fine, because it makes the project better, or it challenges me to work in a different way, or it challenges me to think differently. And this was something where we just didn't see eye to eye on what we thought needed to happen, which is okay. Like, I'm open to trying new things, but the disrespect was like, no, I'm going to draw the line here. This is worth several $1,000s for me to just, you know, walk away from, take the licks, and it was such a relief. So that was something that happened this year that was different. It was a first for me. I've never walked away from a job. And it took, you know, 14 years. When did I start? 16 years for me to do that. So yeah, us saying no to a client. There you go. Do a video on weaknesses of Pro Tools and what could be improved. Okay, that's a good idea. Paul Cruz says, that's exactly why I've walked off the show. The disrespect in new season, I wanted to cut my budget in half. And I said, no, I need the money, though. But the disrespect was major. Yes, you can't put a price on a man's dignity and honor, unless you're a complete sellout, which I'll admit, like, I'll take money for stuff, and it might not be something that I'm proud of, or I'll share, because, like, I have bills to pay. And unfortunately, that's the situation for a lot of us. We don't have rich parents. We don't have side money. We don't have a trust fund or a sugar mama to keep us afloat. We have to take work to pay the bills. But at the same time, you can push a guy so far before they're just like, no, I'm not going to put up with this bullshit. So I commend you, Paul, for doing that. I've done that for the first time this year. It felt good, but it also was a little sad because I liked the project. But, you know, best of luck to the guy, and I hope he can find somebody that can get it to where he wants it to be. Maybe there's a new tool or something that they could use for that. But yeah, it was definitely difficult. Okay. Good job on walking away. You'll feel great. Most of these folks are just talking to themselves. Yeah, and I stayed professional. Like, I didn't name call the guy. Like, I got a little heated, but I didn't cuss. I didn't call him names. I didn't say I'm too good for this or anything like that. It was just like, hey, I don't like this. You know, I'm feeling disrespected, and offered to give the project back. And it was, yeah, I feel like I did a good job keeping my head because I'm not an angry person, but like every once in a while I'll get that, you know, seeing red where it's just like I need to just breathe and keep things controlled because, yeah, as a kid, I was a little bit of a fighter. Not a lot of fights, but when I did fight, it was like I went in for it. So I just have to keep that kind of in mind. So yeah, I think we're good. Covered everything. Really great interactions with you guys. Good questions. Good comments. Good ideas from you. Really great ideas. Look at my idea chart here for videos. If you can read any of that stuff. So I've got like weeks worth of videos thanks to you guys. Really thanks to this stream. And I, again, at the beginning, I thanked members, and I have to do it again. I have been blown away by the members that have joined the channel. The interactions on our Discord, the members-only Discord, have been cool, been really revealing. I've learned some new stuff. I've gotten to share some advanced techniques and kind of philosophies on work and stuff like that. So if you're interested in joining the channel as a member, you get access to that right when you join. And yeah, it's just been, this whole channel has been such a great experience. I think I've had it for 2 years now, and it's grown consistently. Really thanks to you guys. So I just, you know, especially with being Christmas, I got my Christmas sweater. It makes me very thankful for every person who watches a video, every person who comments or shares. I've had people recommend my content on Facebook for people who are starting out. So all that just like personally has a huge impact on me and my decision to, you know, keep doing this. So I'm going to keep doing it, and got some good ideas for videos. We got a super chat. So thank you so much. He said he's been narrating on an audiobook. So great. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm going to sign up. Oh, there's one more question. Would you ever use Volcano for dialogue? I don't think I've ever used it. I've used, is it Saturn, the saturator guy? Yeah, FabFilter Saturn. I've used that for adding some warmth and grit to stuff. So yeah, so thank you guys. I'm going to sign off. I am off for like 2-3 weeks for like a winter hiatus on the show I'm working on. So I'll try to do 2 videos a week, 1 stream and 1 little uploaded, you know, not live video. So thank you guys so much for the ideas, and keep your family in mind while we're heading into Christmas. You know, make sure you balance work with not work stuff. We're all of us that are working are in these dark rooms with screens, and, you know, get out, chop some wood, go fishing, go for a hike, you know, spend time with your family or friends, and try to balance your life with your work or your passion. And yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Keep an eye out for a video, maybe Thursday. I'll try to get one uploaded. And yeah, I guess till then, take care, and I'll see you on the next stream.